Hello, guys! Welcome to the first episode of Slice of Art. And today, as my first guest, I have one of my closest friends, Kanako. Can you just, I guess, introduce yourself, like your name, and then because I guess this is a creative and art podcast, you can just name some of your creative hobbies and such.
Totally. So my name is Kanako Lorenzana, and I have a background in fashion design and merchandising, and I have a love for sustainability. So I try to marry those loves together into upcycled and like zero waste pieces. And so my whole thing is that upcycling should be used as a tool to diverse textile waste. And so my goal is to always use garments to that actually need saving, like outdated denim, damaged and stained garments, or things like neckties. There's like a plethora of neckties at the store, and they're honestly so beautiful. And I see when I go to the thrift store, I see so many like beautiful textiles that are just ending up straight up into the landfill. So I like to utilize my sewing skills and like my creativity to um, give it a new life.
Mm, that's really interesting. I didn't really notice. I guess I don't go to the men's section a lot. I didn't notice all of the neckties that are not being used. Do you think like that's also kind of an outdated sort of style, or do you think people aren't using neckties as much? That's why there's a lot there.
Yeah, totally. I think people only use neckties for special occasions, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes where the necktie sits, it's right in like that stream of where stains occur. So I noticed there's a lot of stained neckties out there,
Oh,
and so people kind of tend to just get rid of it and buy a new one if they need a necktie again. So totally.
oh, okay. Interesting. Um, so I guess we kind of touched on what you do creatively, but you also do like modeling and I would say social media content and food stuff too, right? Like you make food
Yeah,
content. Yeah, do you
I
want to
do
talk a
make
little bit
food
about those
content.
as well?
Yeah, so like for social media, I kind of fell into doing this so-called influencer things. It's so cringe when people call me an influencer because I feel like with influencing, it's usually like people like influencers trying to like influence you to buy something. And for me,
Oh,
like that does not align with what I believe in. I always believe in reusing what you already have and not buying new all the time.
yeah.
But for Instagram, I started off just posting my outfits that I would style. And it's so funny because I would just back then it was like in the square format on
Oh
Instagram.
my
And so
God. Yeah.
like I would cut off my face because it's about the outfit, right? And
Yeah. Yeah.
and so people would comment like saying, "Oh, you're cutting off the most important part." And they're talking about my face. And then that's when I'm like, okay, so I'll start incorporating my face, even though I'm trying to make it about the outfit.
Yeah.
And then it caught the attention of photographers because I guess they saw me as photogenic, and then they see that I have like a plethora of clothing that could probably fit into whatever concept they want to shoot. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was just like, oh yeah, I'm down to take photos. And that's kind of how I fell into like social media and modeling.
Do you,
And with the food thing,
yeah.
sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no,
With the
no, it's okay.
food thing, um, I kind of just fell into that after because as I gained like a small, like very organic following, people in marketing started reaching out to me asking like, oh, if I could make a post about like these restaurants. And their goal is to always bring in like influencers from different backgrounds. And so I kind of filled the gap of like fashion and sustainability and lifestyle. And yeah,
Oh,
it's
okay.
been a quite a ride.
Okay. I had one question for the photo shoots, but then the aspect that you just presented about how they have to get influencers from different um communities and such. I didn't really think about that, but actually that's pretty genius for marketing and stuff because then you can dive into not just the foodies, but then all of these other people, and then they can see it too, and then because they trust you or like they trust all these other people, then they're gonna go there. So that just kind of little light bulb in my head. Um, but my other question, sorry, I didn't mean to almost interrupt you, but I was thinking, do you remember your first photo shoot? And did the person they reached out to you first, or did you ask a photographer to do a photo shoot?
I rarely ask for photo shoots. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they reached out to me. My first photo shoot was with a brand called The Firm, which was
Whoa.
pretty like
Uh-huh.
hot at the time back in like the 2010s. It's like a local kind of streetwear-ish brand, but they were mostly making t-shirts and hats, and the owner really digged my style, and so we started talking and we set up a photo shoot. And he just wanted me to incorporate my style into his products. And
Mm-hmm.
so we did, and it turned out really cool. We shot in downtown Chinatown, and
Oh, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, that was one of my favorite shoots. I was so surprised to see how I can be shot. Yeah, the photographer was amazing.
Mm. Oh, yeah. For those of you that don't know, downtown Chinatown on Oahu is kind of like it became sort of like an art community, right? I would say there's a pretty strong art community, fashion community out there. It's also very aesthetic. Like everything looks kind of old. The buildings have like some Asian accents to them, and downtown Honolulu just kind of, yeah, it just looks like a city. I think cities are really great areas to capture photos, especially for fashion or like for modeling and stuff. Um oh, wait, what was I going to say? Okay, wait, I remember. So as like a fashion influencer, I think there's a difference, right? Like there's modeling influencers and there's fashion influencers. So when brands approach you and they say they're a fashion forward brand or like they have their own clothing, do they already pick the outfits for you, or do they give you the freedom to create an outfit of your own because you come from a fashion background?
Mm, Usually, if it's like a clothing brand, they do pick the outfits for me
Oh,
because
okay,
they
okay.
want
Yeah.
to like feature a specific product, like a new line or something. And so I'm mostly acting as a model in those instances.
Okay, got it. I just wasn't quite sure, but yeah. Um, what else did I want to talk about? Oh, so I wrote down eco-conscious, but then you said sustainability. I think that was the word that I was looking for. Do you remember so you've been on this journey for like the past, like how many years have you been sustainable or eco-conscious?
Since about 2018.
2018? Okay,
Yeah.
what was like the catalyst to your journey? Or do you remember the time, was there like a moment for you where you're like, I don't like this and I want to go this way instead?
So I've always had a love for nature. And before fashion, I wanted to get into some sort of biology, like marine biology,
Oh,
because I
uh-huh.
love the ocean as well. And I just really wanted to save the animals and save the planet. And then when I got to college, I was taking a bunch of science courses, and I realized, like, oh my gosh, like, I don't think I have what it takes to be a scientist, because you need to be a scientist in order to work in that field. And so I learned the hard way that I'm more of a creative person. And so back in 2018, that was when I watched documentaries
Hmm.
about the fashion industry, such as True Cost. And that documentary made me cry. Like thinking about it,
Oh
like
no.
my eyes start to water thinking about it because there was this scene where they're talking about the not just the environmental effects of like the garment factory activities, but also the health effects of the communities around these factories and how there's
Oh.
like disabled children being born. And it was just really heavy to watch. And it definitely, it was burned in my mind. And at that point, I'm like, you know what? Like, I don't need to buy fast fashion. Like, I don't need to stay on trend or follow trends. Like, I have a good enough sense of self and develop the personal style where I don't feel the need to be on trend because I think confidence creates your aura. And if you can wear something confidently, then you're stylish. Like style can't be bought. It's something you create. It's an
Mm-hmm.
artistic, it's like art, you know, it's like up for interpretation. And as long as you have the eye and the confidence to rock it, like you're stylish.
So it's not about the pieces necessarily, like the fashion pieces that you wear. It's more about what you yourself can create. It doesn't come from external things. It's more so coming from you as a creator.
Yeah, totally. Like there was this these reels that I came across and it was like, is it Hailey Bieber or is this outfit actually stylish? And then I will watch it. I'm like, oh, you know, like it's really because different outfits look different on other people. And so sometimes it was Hailey Bieber and sometimes it wasn't. Like the outfit was good, but most times it was just Hailey Bieber and her like proportions that make the outfits look good and effortless, but it doesn't work for other people. And
Mm.
so it's definitely about how you wear it versus what is being worn.
Mm-hmm. I feel like nowadays there's so much content around personal, or like not personal. What do I say? You know, like how there's Korean color analysis.
Hmm.
So I've been going into all these different rabbit holes on different types of, body shape, also hair type. So I think people like really break it down to like the nitty-gritty, like, oh, you have a pear-shaped body, so actually you can only wear blah blah blah, I don't know, high-waisted or looks better on you and all this other stuff. Do you are you I guess in a way you're unconsciously conscious of that, right? Because you can assess like how you look in the mirror, and you know what looks good in you and what doesn't look good in you. Have you ever seen those kinds of videos on like body shape and stuff?
Yeah, totally. I watch it all the time when I come across like stylists that talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it always comes down to like balancing the body into a certain shape. And usually the shape they're trying to go for is like an hourglass shape where your
Oh.
shoulders are in similar widths with your hips when you're looking at a body straight on. So like if you have broad shoulders, then you don't want to accentuate that. So you would actually you would not wear things like halter tops or like an off shoulder
Mm.
top. Yeah. Or like if you have like if you're a pear shape, then you want to and you have narrow shoulders, then you want to like put some I guess like visual weight onto your shoulders to balance out the pear shape of your body. And I kind of do that subconsciously when I style myself too. And when it comes to like baggy and like oversized silhouettes, it's that always comes. it always comes with balance. Like if you have a baggy top, then you want a more slimmer fit bottom, and then vice versa. Like if you're wearing baggy jeans, then you want a more like tight or like slim fit top. Or you could
Mm,
just rock baggy. It's really up to you and how you feel.
mm-hmm. There's so my friend is a graphic designer, and I think he was kind of talking about, well, for him, like you have to break down when you draw someone, you have to break them down into shapes. So he also mentioned balance too when we were talking about outfits and how this outfit looks good in this person, or like it looks good because there's balance in it. Um what were some things that we're going to say about uh so the hourglass figure, it seems very I guess like subjectively feminine, right? Like to our society and stuff. But then there are like other shapes. There's this fashion content creator that I started following. I think his name is Wisdom on Instagram and stuff. But he styles people, and he also creates like hourglass shape. But then it's like a bunch of different shapes. But to it always, I guess, kind of looks balanced. But they're always not, some of them are regular too, so I always found that pretty interesting. um yeah. I don't know where I was going with that, because I would have to show you some of the things, but I think our society creates like these perceptual shapes. So like for me, like the hourglass shape is very, I think, feminine, and but I do kind of like how nowadays girls are wearing more baggy stuff, so it doesn't have to be very tight fitting. I guess in a sense it's kind of hourglass because you would wear, like you said, like a tight top and then baggy pants too. So it's very like not top heavy but very bottom heavy. But it's kind of
Mhm.
crazy to think that because guys, their ideal body shape or whatever is like the pizza, right? Like they have like a very
Mhm.
broad top, and then um like a tight waist, and then not really a broad bottom too. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. I feel like it goes back to like mating, like well in
Uh-huh.
the most primitive sense, like what we find attractive ultimately comes down to what we think would be best for like our future spawn. And so someone with a man with broad shoulders always seems so masculine to us. It looks
Mm-hmm.
strong, so kind of uh it kind of means like, oh, if they're strong, that means it will create strong babies,
Uh-huh.
sort of sort of thing. So I think that's how like we've came to these like gender body perceptions.
Mm. And they're also reflected in fashion too.
Hmm.
um I'm kind of bummed that, men's fashion isn't as diverse as women's fashion. Like women can wear skirts and stuff, but men don't really, or it's not seen as masculine if men wear something that isn't pants or isn't shorts, that doesn't allow the legs to go through. I guess there's kilts, but like not a lot of people wear kilts, especially in America. Um, yeah, I don't know that much about fashion, so it's it's just a speculation that I'm going off of. Oh, but I there were some things that you actually posted on your Instagram that I wanted to kind of dive into. Um I thought they were really interesting. So one of them was your upcycling versus sewing. I think you posted this recently. I thought that was an interesting take on it. Do you remember the post that you did?
Oh, could it be thrifted versus styled?
The wait, what the what?
Was the concept thrifted what I thrifted versus how I styled it?
Oh
Or
no, it was so when someone upcycles something, they should upcycle something that needs to be saved
oh,
versus
okay,
something that
yeah.
doesn't have to be saved. I thought that was like
Mm.
a really interesting perspective on it. If you could elaborate on it.
Oh, yeah, totally. It was kind of like a light rant on my story, but
No, I really liked it
I
because for me, no, just go off and then I'll explain what I thought of it.
okay. So since my feed is a lot of like fashion and fitness stuff, especially handmade fashion, I see some really nice pieces. They're beautiful pieces, but it's being made out of things that don't need saving
Hmm.
and marketed as like zero waste or eco-friendly. And for me, that's triggering because some of the pieces are being made out of items that don't need saving that they find at the thrift store, like really beautiful quilts. I'm just like thinking like why would you use this beautiful handmade quilt to make a dress? Like the dress is nice and it's beautiful and you put a lot of work into it, but if you really need a quilt, then I would encourage them to make their own quilt to make their final product.
Oh wait, sorry.
But I
A
think
question on the quilt. Um,
mhm.
why should they not use a quilt that they thrift? Is it because it's really hard to make the quilt, or the fabric is valuable? Like, what about that?
I think quilts just hold a lot of it quilts are very time consuming to make and there's a lot of thought and fabric that goes into it and they're beautiful and I don't think that it it's a hard sell at a thrift store or a garage sale
Mm, mm-hmm.
and if their whole idea is to be zero waste and using fabric scraps, then it should be taken as an opportunity to make their own quilt.
Mm.
Yeah, and especially with Hawaiian quilts, I think they're it's so closely tied to Hawaiian culture, and so I think they should be left alone. Like we need to keep the Hawaiian quilts Hawaiian. Like I don't know, I just feel like it needs to be respected.
Mm, okay. I can see that. Um, what other things do you think don't necessarily need to be like saved?
I think a lot of streetwear, yeah, streetwear products with logos on it because I find a lot of sewists really like to utilize the logos into their pieces,
Mm, mm-hmm.
and I don't think like say the Nike logos um, or the Nike shirts they sell really quickly at the thrift store. You can actually go on eBay and find a bunch of them being resold in lots. And so what that
Oh,
tells me is these Nike tees don't need saving unless there is a but. But if they are stained or damaged in any way, then I could definitely get behind that. And same for the quilt too. Like if it's damaged, then people won't buy it.
mm,
So that
mm-hmm.
actually does need saving.
Mm. I think the other side to that, I don't I've never seen content about the quilts, so I'm not really sure if this'll pass, but maybe they're just trying to be really creative. And I guess quilts have like a lot of fabric too, so they can really utilize that to make a big project, or I don't know what they're trying to create. Um and then for the brand stuff, um I've actually also thought about upcycling things. I'm not very good at sewing, but I can do like other modifications to it. And in my mindset, someone gave up something, so maybe it's like a little worn out. Um, but to me, if I'm gonna sell this or if I'm gonna market this to someone else, I feel like brand names um, are a safe choice because people will definitely be interested in that. But I did not have the other perspective of that the thing that, oh, someone else is definitely going to buy this at a thrift store too. So I think for maybe those creators, they're just trying to make the safe choice and they're just trying to sell it and just like it's a safe bet because there's a
Yeah.
guarantee that they're going to find someone who would want to buy it.
Yeah, it's a easy sell when you can utilize the brand, like someone else's brand that's like really popular. Like it's a really easy sell. But I think it is like nuanced too, because I have been given like a garbage bag of clothes that like people I know don't know what to do with, so they just give it to me because they don't want to go
Well,
it to waste. And there's never Nike stuff in there. But
mhm.
if there was Nike stuff in there, then I would use it because it was directly given to me by someone
Mm,
that, you know, made that choice.
yeah.
And
There
so
was
there's nuances to this.
mm, I guess I can see that. I feel like there's also nuances to the eco-conscious sustainability community, right? Or maybe there's like different tiers to it. There's like a there's lower tiers and then there's like very higher tiers. Um yeah. My friend, her friend recently started a I'm not sure how to say it. I forgot what she put on her Instagram, but it was something along the lines of intentional fashion or I guess slow fashion, but she was really into fashion and then I think had a breakthrough on the consumption of fast fashion. So she wanted to help style people with more evergreen pieces that they'll use over and over again. But I don't know if that also entails that the products are economically sourced or sustainable. But I think
Ooh.
it's pretty intriguing that this community has so many different layers to it. But it's also very complex. Like I also want to be very eco-conscious and sustainable, but I do like very odd pieces and I also do art, so not all of these art materials are very sustainable. Like resin and all this and paints are probably not very sustainable. But yeah, I think the whole community as a whole is very beautiful. Yeah.
I agree with you. Like the whole sustainability thing, it is super complex, and especially within the fashion space too. But like as a whole, like sustainability has so many lanes. Like I see sustainability as like this gigantic freeway with a bunch of lanes going into one direction, and each lane serves like a purpose. Like for
Mhm.
me, like the lane I would be on is, eco, I guess, eco-conscious fashion. But then I could be eating meat, or I could be using single-use plastics, but this is my lane. And then there's the other person that's like vegan, they're vegan for the purpose of the environment. And another lane could be like someone that likes to fix things,
Mhm.
like fixing computers, fixing tools, fixing appliances. And it's just so interesting, and I think it makes it like, I don't know, it's just, it's humanity. And I think I know what kind of sustainable fashion you're talking about, going back to that, the Instagram of your friend's friend.
Mhm.
It sounds like what she's trying to do is create like a capsule collection
Mm,
for her clients that features timeless pieces.
mm, yeah.
Yeah, pieces that can be worn over and over without um getting tired of it. I guess it always looks good. It's no matter what season or what year it is, and it's easy to style. It's in like a very versatile color, a great fit,
Hmm.
and quality. It's like created with quality. And I
Yeah.
actually follow a stylist that talks about that, where she's like, um, these are things that you should never buy because it's hard to style, it goes out of fashion quick, and this is what you should buy instead. And I watch it, I'm like, oh, I like that. And I think she doesn't try to market herself as being a sustainable stylist. She's just a stylist. But I see that as being sustainable too.
Yeah. Kind of guiding you to make better choices, I guess, down the line. I liked how you said that sustainability is is a freeway with multiple lanes. It made me think of um, food and microplastics. I think I'm very or I'm trying to be more conscious of that. I think the plastics thing is like super hard though. There's like there well I'm now that I'm it's in my head, I'm noticing so many things packaged in plastic. I still use saran wrap. I still have containers that are plastic, but I'm recycling it because I'm trying to not buy other things, but it's yeah, it's quite the Pandora's box to open.
Yeah, that's why try to think of it as like a freeway with all these lanes because we if we were trying to do sustainability and zero waste perfectly, we would just tire ourselves out and give up because it is really hard. Plastic is nearly inescapable now, and we just have to kind of like understand what our priorities are and try our best. And I think you um even though you know you still have saran wrap and you still have plastic containers, like you still do your best. And I think that that's a really good foundation to start from.
Mm, okay. Well, that's good to know. Yeah. um, what else was I gonna say? So we actually met in Hawaii. Um, we actually met over Instagram, right? Kind of, or
Yeah.
we met through a mutual friend, and we were in this. I'm just gonna tell the lore behind our friendship. Um,
Okay.
so I actually don't remember the first time we met. Was it at a market or like an event? It was definitely an event.
Yeah, some sort of event. I don't remember because it was so long ago.
Yeah, so Kanako and I we met over Instagram. We were in this Hawaii fashion group, and our mutual friend, she was kind of the coordinator or the overseer of everything, and she pretty much gathered all of these different content creators, mostly around fashion. And we would go to events together. We started to do like brand promotion for different clothing companies, and it was just really cool. And um, nowadays, I think sometimes it's hard when you well, actually, yeah, I feel nowadays it's really hard when you meet people over social media and then you become friends with them through a gig, or you become friends with them over social media, and then things can be very transactional, very superficial, because you need this thing from them, and they need this thing from you. I really appreciate how our friendship went beyond that. But what am I trying to talk about? I'm trying to talk about um, what it's like to be a creator in Hawaii. If you could illustrate that a little bit.
To be a creator in Hawaii, um, It's a really good question. Like,
Mm,
Hawaii is such a small community, and it's kind of like a mix of a lot of support and
mm.
no support
Oh
because
wait, what? That's two different ends of the spectrum.
yeah, I think like in Hawaii, it's so hard to live in a bubble. And when someone does something different, it's easy to kind of like criticize that. And so when it comes to
Oh,
creativity, I feel like that can definitely happen. And for the most part, I've had like amazing support in my whole fashion and Instagram and sewing journey, but I have overheard other people criticize it. Like there was this one time I was doing a pop-up with my upcycled pieces,
mhm.
and this was burned into my memory. I was so
Oh no.
offended. So
Okay.
I was just like at my booth saying hi to people, standing, and then I see someone pass by. It was two people, and then they just kind of one of them, they actually kind of like went through like part of the rack I had, and the other one was like, oh, it's just cut up t-shirts, or it's just cropped t-shirts.
Oh my God.
And
Uh-huh.
then I was just like, overhearing that, I was so sad. I was so sad because I put in so much effort into my pieces, and for it to just be reduced to just cropped shirts, it was so offensive.
Yeah, that's definitely like very disingenuous to what you do. Based on what I
Yeah.
see and like what I hear from you, how much work goes into it, and from personal experience trying to do that as well, that's not the vibe. No. Mm-mm.
Yeah, and see, Hawaii is so small that I actually recognize the person that said that. And I was just like shocked because that person is also a creative. And it was
What?
just like, oh wow, like people are really like this out here.
Um,
So,
was
if
she sorry, was she also a creative? What do you mean by like she also
oh, she was
sewed?
she's an artist.
What kind of
She was
artist?
like a graphic artist.
Oh, graphic artist. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm,
But it definitely helped create like thicker skin and just being more comfortable with who I am and the things I produce, and knowing that this is me and this is who I am, and not everyone's gonna like it because I don't like everyone either.
that's
but
true. Hmm.
but yeah, I think most people do find it really cool because sewing isn't as common of a skill these days. So it's having this skill of sewing makes me unique than like another Insta model.
Mm, yes. Because sometimes those
Yeah.
people just all they do is model, make content, but you
Hmm.
actually understand what the garments, how much time and consideration is put into those. Oh, that makes me
Yeah.
upset though. I'm sorry that happened. Um, I feel like as a, I guess as a, since she is a graphic artist, maybe she isn't really aware of how much it takes to sew garments, but that's very that just irks me a lot for
Yeah, it,
another
it
creative to
irks me
say
a
that.
lot too. Yeah. Yeah. And I studied a lot of art in school. And so I appreciate art, even like art that looks simple.
Mm-hmm.
I still appreciate it because someone thought of that and someone found meaning in that. And it's up for interpretation. And that's just me though. But I was just I was offended.
Mm,
But anyways, going back to like being a creative in Hawaii and how it's such a tight knit community, it it is filled with a lot of support, and um, I really I love being from Hawaii because for the most part, we all care about the Aina because
Oh,
we
yes,
yeah,
yes.
because we live so closely to the mountains and the oceans and the weather is so beautiful and like we grow up going to the beach and when we see trash at the beach, like it affects our mental health. We're like, "Oh my gosh, the audacity." So I think like for me, I really love the creative community.
Um, so as background, I used to live in Oahu. I no longer live there. Um, but I do really miss that. I do really miss the people, the community, the love, the aloha that everyone shares with each other, even if you don't know the person. Like you still show a lot of aloha to them. And currently I live in LA and there's not a lot of aloha, but there's a lot of transplants here, so I think LA in a sense is a mixing pot of all these different identities trying to fight for the spotlight. It kind of feels like that. Um, but I think going back to what you said about the no support thing if you're kind of different, I that was one of the reasons why I moved out of Hawaii because I felt that my style and my art was very different from Hawaii artists and I kind of wanted to nourish that and see where it would take me. So that's why I moved to LA because it was so diverse and there's a lot of different identities up here. Um, but I also feel that Hawaii has a certain aesthetic to it. Like a lot of the fashion, the art, they are very much paying homage to like the Aina and all the local stuff there. And that's something that I guess my identity, even though I love all of that stuff, that's something that my creative identity did not resonate with. So that's why I wanted to move away and kind of cultivate that elsewhere. But it's
I can see that and I totally understand too. Like the fashion scene in Hawaii is very island focused
mm-hmm,
and like you said, like paying homage to Hawaiian culture and the local culture. And so the most successful brands out of Hawaii, a lot of them is aloha shirts and island wear or dresses with some kind of like aloha print on it.
mm-hmm.
And I love like aloha print, but I know that there's other prints out there that are just as beautiful. And so for me, um I could never really resonate with a Hawaii brand enough to want to work for them because I think my taste is a lot more diverse. And so to be successful in the fashion realm of Hawaii, for it always felt as if I always had to go into aloha wear or flowy dresses with like a floral print on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want a like I would love to see a little more diversity, but I also understand this is Hawaii. And then when people visit Hawaii, this is what they expect too. And so it's like a selling point as well.
Mm. Um, sorry, I have to clear my throat. Um, the last time when I visited recently, I think I noticed that more. I noticed that there was more local style shops, especially in, well, I guess in comparison, I saw that a lot in Pearl Ridge because Pearl Ridge used to be all of this, I guess, fast fashion stuff, not really like small businesses, but then the last time that I went or I visited, there was a lot of shops that had, I guess, tourist trap sort of things like aloha shirts, local style prints, t-shirts, stickers, all this sort of stuff. So, do you think there's more of an influx in that to cater to the tourist, or do you think it's more so that Hawaii's trying to solidify their island identity, so then they're just leaning into that more?
I think it's both because they feed off of each other. Like
Mm,
I I really like the idea of local designers really embracing their culture and creating designs inspired by their culture. And
mm-hmm.
if that catches the attention of tourists to buy their products, I think that's all the more power to them. And I think I like cultural identity has a lot to do with the like your creative identity. So I do think a lot of Hawaii designers and creatives are trying to lean more into paying homage to the culture.
Into the culture. Mm.
Yeah.
I have what is that? Uh, I think about moving back sometimes and inserting what I've learned from being out of Hawaii back into there, and I wonder like how it would be received if, well, I guess maybe in the next couple years that would happen, so maybe Hawaii would have time to develop. But I think it's cool that not only me, but I've noticed a lot of people from my friend groups have moved out of Hawaii, so then if they learn what they learn living in the place that they are and then move back and then bring back different aspects of where they were, if that would also help to change the culture there. um yeah, I don't know where I was going with that.
That's okay. Um, that is an interesting idea. There is a a designer here. She's from the Bay, but she's made her name in Hawaii. So a lot of people think that she's a local designer, and currently she is a local designer because she's designing locally, but her origin is not local. But people have accepted her and her products
Mm-hmm.
as, part of the culture, and I think that's really cool. And she creates very elevated pieces um that are like that look sophisticated. They look like art because of the silhouettes, and she uses a lot of Japanese fabric. A lot of her inspiration, she's Japanese, Alison Izu, actually. She's Japanese, and
Oh, okay.
she creates a lot of her pieces inspired by her cultural heritage. And a lot of people here are Japanese too. So I think, like, whether you're a transplant or you're someone that is local, moved away, and then came back and started business, I think as long as, like, you understand the culture, which you do, um, I think it's always really cool to be introduced to new things, because in Hawaii, like, it's so easy to be in a bubble because we're so far away and isolated in the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like the
Yeah.
culture, every time someone asks me how, whoa, what do I do in Hawaii when I visit, what should I do, and then I usually tell them just respect the
Mm.
island and then respect the people, and then you'll be accepted. I think that's the basis of it. Like that is aloha. Like you love and respect the environment, the land where you get all of your resources from, and the people that are there. So that's nice hearing. I guess if I do intend to move back, then I can reinsert myself into the culture and do whatever I want to do with respecting
Yeah.
the people and the island. Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh wait, I did want you to talk about your business, or yeah, about Mino Leaf. I was really, I just want to tell you, I was really proud to see that recently you started making bags again, because I think last year Mino Leaf was really on a pause, and
Mhm.
you were taking time to explore other things, and it was on the back burner for you for a lot of the time. But yeah, could you just really talk about your about Mino? Yeah.
Yeah. So Mino is my upcycling brand, and Mino is actually my mother's maiden name. And a lot of my personal style is inspired by my mom's style because she was a stylish woman, and um, I learned to dress from watching her, and she actually
Mm-hmm.
taught me how to use a sewing machine too. So for me, it felt right to um, name my brand Mino.
Mm-hmm.
And so starting off with when I started Mino, it was strictly clothing, um, t-shirts mostly, and like button-up shirts that I would find at the thrift store. And I would do a bunch of pop-ups, and some of them were successful, some of them were not. It always depends. Um, but through doing that, I come to find that upcycled pieces are really hard to sell sometimes because it's one of one. So the right person has to be to like the design and to be able to fit it. And so finding that right um, buyer for a one-off piece was pretty hard, especially with it being like a higher price point as well. And so I felt a little burnt out over time, and I started to rethink like, okay, where do I want Mino to go? Because my background, I specialize in clothing,
Mm-hmm.
but these one-off pieces are kind of hard to sell at the moment. So I started to think of pivoting to bags because bags are a lot easier for people to commit to. It can be used over and over again. It's very functional. And so I've been sketching a lot, doing a lot of research, trying to see what type of bags I like, the size, the proportion, how the straps should be, and how to make it too. I've been doing research on that and developing my own patterns and sampling it. And recently I came up with 3 bag designs
Mm-hmm.
and I put it out on my story. I'm like, hey, this is what I made. Let's do a poll. Which style of bag would you rock? And um, and then my tote bag design did really well. And so I plan to make a limited run of tote bags out of denim and t-shirts and aloha shirts. And I I'm like kind of excited and also nervous because
Uh-huh.
this would be kind of like a sort of relaunch of Mino.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that, I'm also going to start a full-time job next week too, so I'm
Oh
also nervous about
yeah.
balancing everything.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but I think doing the whole process of creating a sample and then showing it to people and um trying to see what people like has been really useful, and it really taught me that like this is the way to go. Like I don't want to make pieces just to make it because I like it. I want to make pieces that people will actually use because the whole point of upcycling is to reuse textiles. And so if I make things that people won't use, then I'm defeating the purpose. So taking that poll was so valuable to me. And so I think I'm going to do that sort of design process more often.
Mm. Yeah, that's really useful because you're kind of essentially making things for your community, and you asking them what they like and what they want gives you a clearer
Hmm.
vision of what to do with that. What was
Yeah.
when you first started Mino, do you know what your vision was or what you wanted to do with it? You said clothing, but what did you mean by that?
Mm. My vision with Mino was always like upcycling anything that can be worn on the body yeah, just try to give it new life in different ways, whether that's taking away from it or adding things to it,
Mm-hmm.
adjusting the proportions of it, or even like adding embellishments. And that was what I visioned for Mino originally, but the mission of it is like just reusing as much textiles that need saving as much as I can, and um, finding finding buyers for it or finding a home for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Would you say that kind of changed now that you're kind of relaunching it, or is it the same as that, but you're utilizing a different aspect of it?
I even though I right now I'm focused on making purses, bags, and pouches, I it clothing will always be like the bread and butter of my creative being when it comes to fashion. So I'm just kind of putting clothing on a back burner. And if
Mm.
anyone does want like a custom piece, then I'm totally up for that. But I would like to make really cool jackets in the future, but jackets in Hawaii isn't the most practical because it's already so hot.
That's
But
true.
it's kind of like a fantasy of mine to make really cool jackets.
Mm. You just have to find an audience outside of Hawaii that is gonna
Hmm.
be in cold weather that will use a jacket. I think you can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, that's very insightful though, because there were I think I mentioned it earlier. I did want to modify some thrifted clothes, but I think I am in that mindset of I like the way this looks, so it's gonna be really hard to find a buyer for it, I guess,
Mhm.
unless it's a design that everyone would want. But that's really interesting to think about that there are certain pieces that are one of one, and then there are pieces that you can sell like multiple things of. Like, for example, if I screen printed a design and I just printed it on basic t-shirts, then I could just keep selling it and selling it, but it would have to be like a very versatile or widely accepted design, but then I would make a lot of money from it. And then whereas like this one of one piece, I would make a lot of money from it, but it's going to be really hard finding that one person who just loves it and just wants it. Um, I I kind of wish in college that I took business. I feel like as a creative, trying to I actually graduated in animation, but I learned that I didn't want to do that. That I just wanted to be an artist. But as an artist, you kind of have to be an entrepreneur and you have to advocate for your own business. But then you went to school for whatever art you did and you didn't take those business classes. So I kind of looking back at it now, I wish I took business, but then they didn't really tell you that to do that in school. Um, do you do you feel like you need some business background for that, or do you feel pretty confident in executing your business?
Mm. When it comes to pricing, I do get a little like overwhelmed because
Mm-hmm.
some of my pieces it takes hours to make. And when
Oh
it
yeah,
comes
yeah.
to pricing it, I'm just like, okay, the materials cost this much. It took me this many hours to make. I want to charge this much for it, but I don't think anyone would buy it at that price. So maybe I should price it at this instead. But then pricing it lower, it kind of you're setting the expectation that that's that's what you're just setting your own expectations for people.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm I actually got to talk to a local designer about this, And I asked her, like, do you think it's worth lowering your prices just to sell the piece? And she said, never, never lower your prices. Always keep it
Wow.
at
Hmm.
the original price. Don't slash it. And that's why she said, because you're setting those expectations. And so if you're selling your upcycled piece for $60, then that's what people are going to expect from you. And if you start asking more for it, then they're not going to buy it or want to buy it.
Hmm.
And that was like a hard pill to swallow for me. But, you know, talking to her, it did give me a sense of comfort that, like, okay, I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy.
Yeah. I think as a
And
oh wait, sorry. Go ahead. What were you
oh,
gonna say?
and so for me, I've been doing a little bit of production, like really small productions on the like as side work, and I would be logging down how many hours it takes for me, or yeah, how many hours I'm sewing for, and then
Oh,
I
that's
tally
good.
that
Yeah.
all up when I'm finished with it, and so I get an average of how many hours go into one piece. And so that's when I'm like, okay, so for each hour I should be paid this much. And so that's kind of like how I'm going to try to price it from now on,
Hmm.
instead of just making the piece and then getting to the end and being like, how much would people pay for
Oh
this?
my
Like,
god.
like now I have structure.
Um,
Yeah.
I did see there was some content on, I think it was Instagram. So not towards upcycling pieces, but I used to do portrait commissions. So this artist broke down how to price doing a commission, and then it was kind of like that, hourly, how much you want to be paid, and then how complex the thing was. Is it just the face? Is it just the portrait? Or is it full body? How many characters there are? And that kind of increases the price. Is it colored? There's all these different factors that are calculated into it. And I wish I saw that a couple years ago. But I think now there's more content, or more people are being vocal about how to organize all of these sorts of things. So I really appreciate that. Um, Wait, there was this video that I watched online. It was from this YouTube channel. I think it was Julabee. So they do this thing where they have two conflicting groups. Um and in the video that I watched, it was about people that were millionaires versus people that just make enough to get by. And then sometimes there's like heated debates between them. So they have like a overarching question, and then people that agree can come forward, and then people that disagree will stay back, and then they kind of like hash it out between each other. And in this group, the millionaires, there was, I think, a couple of them that were Gen Zers, and they were kind of talking about how people from the Gen Z generation are very uh they're they advocate for what they believe they should be paid, but sometimes the things that they produce are not to that caliber of what of the price point that they put out. But they're very good at asking for what they think they should be paid, but they don't execute it well. And those Gen Z millionaires were talking about their own generation doing that. And I think maybe, I don't know if it's our generation, like millennials have a hard time asking for what they should be paid, but I also struggle with kind of asking for what I should be paid when I put a lot of time and effort into something, into an art piece. And
Hmm.
it's kind of debilitating, but I guess talking to you about it too makes me feel a little better that it's not just my mindset that's having difficulty asking for more money. It's kind of yeah, people have this attribute about them. Um, but damn, I wish I was younger and I could advocate for the price that I need.
Yeah, yeah. It's times are changing. Yeah, times are
Mm,
definitely changing. And I kind of like where it's going as far as like the mindset when it
mm,
comes to like work, especially like fair pay, um, like safe working conditions, and it's things that sound like where it, like where they belong, but they for the longest time it hasn't been.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Um, oh wait, there was a question that I wanted to ask you. Um, so do you remember that video I sent you? I sent Kanako a video on Instagram about this. I think it was like an AI program that
Hmm.
would produce the textile for you or
Oh, the pattern.
the pattern, sorry, the pattern for
Yeah.
you. So that kind of, I guess, brings me back to the question of what do you think about artists using AI for their art?
Mm, like when it comes to fashion specifically,
Yeah,
or in
I,
a
I
general
would.
sense.
Um, you can talk about, I guess, fashion because that's more of your home base, and then if you want to expand on that, you can. But just your perspective on it
Ooh.
would be appreciated.
I think AI is overall like a good tool to use for designing, but it should never be the source of your designs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, because AI is being learned through existing information. And so I just think there's a lot of room for error when it comes to ripping off someone else's designs. But if you can develop, like, come up with a concept and then utilize AI to make it into reality, or like be able to get a visual of your concept through I think that's really useful.
So it's useful to the threshold of you have a vision, but you use it
Hmm.
only for planning, and then once you have the plan, then you have to execute it, and that's okay. Is that what you would say is
Yeah,
good?
yeah.
I
Because
think.
you could ask AI like, oh, what are some trending colors, or
Oh, yeah,
what's
yeah.
a really popular like style of sleeves or something. And then you can take that data and incorporate it into your designs.
So for
And that would be the same thing as like doing fashion forecasting
is
and
that
market research.
Oh, okay. That just kind of made me think of videos that have like popped up on my feed on, oh, what are the trends for 2025's summer blah blah blah. Is that kind of like fashion forecasting?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
okay.
exactly fashion forecasting.
Okay. I haven't heard that term before, so I wasn't completely sure. Um I think I also agree that in a drawing sense, I think AI is good for conceptualizing something, um, but once it gets to the part where you're executing your skill, like executing drawing and coloring, if you kind of utilize it for that, it I feel like it almost feels like you're cheating in a sense because you're kind of using it as a crutch to complete something that you should already be building a skill for. Um, But there was like my friend showed me this clip of some kind of 3D animated scene, and I think it was a ship, and they were on the ship and blah blah blah, like everything was animated on there except for the rain. The rain was completely AI, and I guess in that sense animating rain is such a bitch, but it is, I guess, a skill, but then it is like, I would say, a lower layer to the whole scene because the whole scene would be the characters and kind of what's going on and all of the other animations that are of that. So I guess in that nuanced sense, I would say it's acceptable because it is a tedious thing to animate rain, but it is of a lower tier to the overarching idea. Um,
Hmm.
so I think there's a lot to digest with AI, and it's kind of um, frightening right now because we don't know the potential of it, of how it can help us, and there's a lot of backlash with it. I think especially in the illustration community, there's a lot of I don't know if you know this, but there's a lot of accounts on Instagram who are just AI artists. And I don't completely know how I feel about it because sometimes I do like the art. Um and I guess there is a certain skill uh to manifesting like what the idea is through text to generating it in AI.
Yeah.
Um but I don't know how if I've completely accepted that as a general art form. I guess using AI maybe
Mm,
would potentially become some sort of art form because it is a tool that people are using and then it becomes something else. But yeah, I have you seen that in any other sort of artistic capacity beside well, illustration or picture making is one whole thing, but have you seen that in anything else?
I've seen like dancing videos that are AI, but then it's like constantly morphing into like a celebrity's face.
Oh, okay, I've seen that too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty entertaining to watch.
It's kind of crazy, yeah. Some of the videos there is like you do notice that there's something wrong with the video because sometimes there will be celebrity videos and they're doing something weird, or animal videos and they're doing, or like a baby and they're doing something outrageous, and you're like, is this real or is this not real?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, like creating fake news out of AI. I've seen that too.
Mm-hmm. It kind of makes the water muddy. It makes all the content, you now have to have this question of, is this real or is this not real? Oh, that kind of makes me think of have you ever heard of the concept of VTubers?
I've heard of it, but I don't understand what it is.
So VTubers are, I guess, streamers, but they have a little avatar or icon that is
Oh,
animated,
yeah. Okay.
and
Yeah,
then
I know what
that's
that
them.
is.
So like, what if there was an AI? Oh, there probably is. There's like an AI generated influencer, and they now become this whole thing. I don't.
Oh, yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. I think that's scary. Like you can't really compete with a computer. It's like playing chess with the computer. Like you're never gonna win.
Mm,
And I think in that way it's scary, but it's hard because I want to believe that us humans are intelligent enough to like recognize genuine interaction versus fake interactions. And so I would like to
mm-hmm.
believe that it would just um like the audience would just be more trusting of real people because of the influx of all these AI bots or people. But you know, it's hard to say because people are pretty gullible sometimes, even me.
Yeah, I would say that I am too.
Yeah,
Um,
but it's scary. Yeah. Even with modeling too. Like these AI generated models they're beautiful. They have perfect skin. Their body proportion is amazing. They look good in everything. And um yeah, I think it definitely threatens like real supermodels.
oh, so are a lot of companies or are some companies using that to market their products now? Because I think that was a problem with here in LA there was a strike for screenwriters. How the uh the places here they were using AI to make the scripts instead of hiring screenwriters. Is Do you think that would pose a problem to models, or have you already seen that?
Mm, it's mostly, well, AI only exists in the digital format. So for like runway shows, like in-person runway shows, like these runway models are untouchable, but anything that's
Oh yeah, yeah.
like in a magazine or like a TV ad and such, it definitely threatens them, in my opinion.
Mm, yeah, that's true. Oh, that's so scary. Um,
Yeah.
Hopefully we can. I think there's a lot of thoughtful people out there, and there's a lot of eyes on AI. So I think, I believe that humanity will be able to cultivate something healthy, and we'll
Hmm.
be able to create something that we can cohesively coexist with. So I believe in us. Yeah. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Um
I love that.
so I think we're approaching the end. There's one last question that I want to ask you. Um do you have any goals or dreams for this year? This coming year?
Ooh. My goals or dreams? It's a really good question. I guess for me, like actually relaunching Mino is a big goal of mine, and just um, being able to balance my time, like time management, is like an ongoing goal for me.
Mhm.
And relaunching Mino is really going to challenge that, and so that is my goal for the year.
Nice. I think that's
And
a pretty good goal.
yeah. Yeah,
Um
and I have like my own personal fitness goals too that I've been working on. And I have also reached a milestone getting a full-time job, which is my first full-time job ever in
oh
my
my god.
life. And people are like,
Congrats.
congrats. And I'm like, why are we celebrating this?
Um, I think it's definitely an experience being someone that has had a lot of full-time jobs. I I believe in planners. For helping with time management. I think that can really concretely show you um what you're spending your time most on. Kind of like what you were doing with logging the time when you make a piece. What you're spending the most time on, what you want to spend time on, and kind of delineating all of that for you. So maybe you could look into that for helping you with time management. Planners are really good. Um, and also to you relaunching Mino. I'm really proud of you, and I think I think about this a lot. Like when when you fail at something, and then sometimes you don't go back to that thing, right? And then when that thing does come back to you and you do want to do that, that means that that thing is special, and it holds a lot of meaning to you. So I think because you had this thing with Mino, and it didn't work out, and now you're relaunching it, I think that's just a sign that this is a thing for you. So I'm really excited to see what you can accomplish this year with Mino.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for supporting me throughout all these years and being such an awesome friend overall.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being my first interviewee for this podcast. And I think we're just going to close it out here. Thank you so much for watching. Would you like to plug your socials for everyone, Kanako?
Totally. You can follow me on Instagram at style.leaf. And on my bio, it has my Mino Hawaii brand tagged in it, so you can check that out too. It is still in its infancy as far as the Instagram page. I'm also on TikTok as Style Leaf. No, I believe there's no period in between the two words.
Cool.
But I just copy and paste my Instagram content into TikTok. And so you could just follow me on Instagram, honestly.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, thanks, guys. We'll catch you at the next episode, and thank you so much for joining us. Bye.